Hi. I almost lost track of the week. Um, I feel like I've been making videos that have been kind of spot on um, about avoidant personality disorder, and so therefore, it's time for me to make some stupid thing that is not necessarily always applicable. Um, and I'm going through one of the really make a video type phases where I feel like I shouldn't be on camera. Whatever. Um, oh, I will follow up. I made the video before about that movie, the Backrooms movie, and how it was basically a study in rumination and how it can destroy your life. Um, Also, on recommendation, I went to go see Obsession. Um, Here's what I'll be destroyed. It seemed very much like somebody with borderline personality disorder. I mean, that was a crazy movie. That was basically a monkey paw movie. Super disgusting, physically violent, gory movie. Um, Not really psychological at all. But who knows? Maybe I'm gonna see every movie I see this year. I'm gonna be like, oh, that person is probably diagnosable with X, Y, or Z. Anyway, and I am avoiding speaking. Okay, so like I said before, every week I basically talk about whatever has come up in the week before, and that these are definitely the perspective of somebody with avoidant personality disorder, definitely trying to help people out. But it's also kind of a blog. It's like, this is what I did during the week. Um, the thing is that usually I know, you've seen these videos, you know what it is. I describe something and then I sort of give tips on how to cope with it if you're going through it. I every once in a while come up with something that's like, okay, you know what, if I had the tips, I'd do it myself. This is one of these times. And I'm sure that now I've done all this yammering. You'll have seen the title, you know what this is about. And basically it is, um, when you have a physical reaction to something going on in your life. And I don't mean like an allergy. Maybe it is an allergy. Who knows? Um, so what's been going on in my life? It's the same stuff that's always going on. If I'm not traveling, and I'm not focused, although that is the thing that's basically keeping me. I don't want to say keeping me sane and keeping me alive. That's a little extreme. Um, but the thing that I keep going back to is I have, of course, trips planned, um, and I keep going. Well, let's do a little bit more research about this, that, or the other. Um, but what's going on with me is, this is annual time of transition at work. Um, First of all, and so I have a job that's you can be available 24 hours a day, for my job basically, and I don't really want to be on call for 24 hours a day. I I I've been around the block. I don't need it. I actually just, how long has it been now? I don't think it's been even 3 months since I transferred departments. Um, but it does have sort of an annual, a couple of times annually when we have these big, huge shifts. This is one of them where the type of work changes. And also, we have a complete shift usually in staff. We get a lot of new people in, and we get a lot of people who go, "Oh, I think I'd rather try something else right now." Um, that's incredibly stressful. And even more than that is they have tried to promote somebody um, to handle the schedule, this 24-hour schedule, who knows that basically I can do just about anything. And it's like, okay, well, um, basically throw me on all the time, morning, noon, and night, um, back to back. Um, I don't do well with that. Again, this is like the topic of the video is reacting physically. Yes, I react physically. I react to stress physically. It basically makes me sick. Um, the way I look at it is if I'm doing something too stressed now, okay, so we have new people. Um, it's a temperature change because it's been like insanely hot. I'm wearing a sweater. Jeez. Anyway, I have like because of the way that this has that the schedule that I've been trying to maintain has been like I haven't been eating. That also screws me up. Um, and the job itself and trying to deal with these people. Deal with these people. Um, we have new supervisors, sort of, kind of. It's like covering for people on vacation and stuff. It's new people that are not normally around who, and they're young, and that's fine. I have no problem with having somebody younger than me as my supervisor if they're on the ball and they know what they're doing. The problem is that these people are like, okay, how I'm going to be a supervisor is by micromanaging or ordering people around and expecting them to jump to it, and also being super inconsistent. Like one day they'll be like, "This is the important thing." The next day "This is the important." It's like, what the? Get it together. Anyway, so um, yeah. So dealing with this stress, and I must admit, I did once again put my foot down because I actually do have like aerial supervisor who's in charge of everything, even though they are, they delegate tasks and stuff like that. And they're, especially if my manager does not work 24 hours a day. So if I'm being scheduled, you know, 12 hours opposite of when my manager is working, then I'm not working with my manager. I don't really like that. I like to know, you know, I just like the consistency and so this transition at work is really really hard and it is literally making me sick. First of all, you get the classic sort of mild depressive type things, which is that you're exhausted all the time, you got no energy to do anything, can barely get anything else done, and you just need to sleep around the clock. Now, I mean, again, with them having these time shifts, that explains the exhaustion. But you don't get anything else done, and that's what causes depression. Um, the stress of having to stand up for yourself. Now, again, um, there's two kinds really. I mean, there's a billion, but really, there's a spectrum with two sort of ends of the spectrum for people with avoidant personality disorder, which is the people who, like me, um, can sort of exist easier around total strangers, and then there's people who, they have their basically their family or good friends that they've known for decades, and those people they trust, but anybody new is like, ooh, I can't interact with them at all. I've just got to keep my mouth shut. I can't deal with these people. They're too stressful. Um, for me, luckily, the newness of it, um, and I think also the fact that I haven't been in this department for very long, it just feels like I could just walk away. I mean, I wouldn't, but I could at any moment, and so I'm able to sort of stick up for myself. And I went along with the insane schedule for about a month. It was actually my manager who was like, by the way, you have been ill. Like, I can tell you're sick, and it seems to be. She told me that watching my pattern, that she thought it was the crazy schedule and not having a normal sleep schedule. She thought that was affecting it. I was like, smart lady. um, yeah. So that is something that happens. And I mean, if you get so stressed out from these things that are supposed to be okay, so yeah, what I'm talking about here, maybe not everybody is going to have a crazy like swing schedule like I have had. Maybe they're not going to have people making that sort of imposition, but there are a lot of work stresses, and they can literally make you sick, especially with avoidant personality disorder. If you have to interact with people that again, they're opposite to whatever your spectrum is. Like, if you um, need to be with the same comfortable people that you've known for a while, and then you got like a new manager, ooh, not fun. um, and vice versa. Um, my job, I interact with a lot of people, um, and I mean, okay, I'm saying a lot of people. I mean, it's okay. I interact with different people more often than I interact with the same people. I would say of the people that I actually, okay, there's like my coworkers that I don't interact with that very much at all. Like, we work side by side, sort of, let's call it that. We're doing the same job, we're in the same department, but we are working with clients. We're working with customers. And the customer repeats that I get are very low. I would say maybe 10%, which is fine by me. um, but things like, I'm just totally stressed out because if I go into a convenience store and the guy behind the counter is like, "Hey, I haven't seen you for a while," and I'm like, yeah, I don't like to be remembered at all. Maybe I never need to walk into this store again. Um, I'm much quicker to recover from that and to not have it stress me out and to not spike my blood pressure and to not make me want to, you know, forget about everything in the world and never go back to that store. When I'm physically all there, let's put it that way. And I'm just not. And again, I mean, yes, having the schedule shift, that's part of it. The other thing is that, of course, the next thing that would, what else would stress me out? That'd be my kid. My son actually also has gotten a new job, and his reaction, uh, when he has that sort of transition, is, "Okay, mom, I'm not working, so you're going to pay all my bills for me right now." What? He also, he does better if he's interacted with people, and so if he's not working for any period of time, um, then he's like, I mean, I think one day he called me 12 times in a day. God, no. Um, and so, I mean, it just takes the stress of my life and just skyrockets it, and literally I get sick. Um, and then again, and it's just this, you know, snowballing effect, because if you're unwell, that causes stress and it causes you to be exhausted, which means that you're more likely to get unwell going forward, and on and on and on. I mean, obviously, I'm not bad. It would be better if I was 100%. Um, but I think that's super common. Um, I just heard something weird. It's probably a cat. Anyway, um, definitely not because it's outside. Maybe it's a raccoon. Um, so I think it's just something that you can be aware of. That in addition to what could like be normal stress that's causing physical reaction in your body, and that then you're more susceptible to being sick. Oh, definitely weird noise out there. Anyway, the stress of dealing with whatever variety of avoidant personality disorder you have exacerbates it and makes it worse. So what to do about it? First of all, same thing I always say. Pretty repetitive. Give yourself a break if that happens. Um, I think take it on a case by case basis. On the one hand, yeah, if you stay home and rest and relax, then maybe that will be something that'll make you feel better. Maybe, but maybe it's good for you to try to push through. Um, and deal with the stress because it's a really good learning opportunity. If you're high stress, first of all, that's a little bit of a distraction against the avoidant personality disorder type symptoms, whatever is happening to you from that. I mean, like if you're going to make a major change in your life, you need a huge amount of stress. You've got to push that boulder up the hill. So you need a lot of stress. So having that little bit of stress can sort of acclimate you to it, and also you can sort of store it up so that you'll have it available to tap into when you want to make a change, that sort of thing. So maybe on the case by case, depending on how badly you're feeling. I mean, basically, there gets to be a point where my body is just like, okay, you know what? If you're not going to stay home and just relax, then I'm going to get your body home. And I'm making it impossible for you to leave the house. Um, yeah. So if you can watch and make sure you don't actually get to that point where your stress levels are um, basically making it impossible to leave the house for whatever reason. Maybe it is just anxiety or exhaustion, or maybe you get something like what happened to me, which was like physical illness, um, secondary symptoms, not fun. Um, but also, like, pay attention to that. If there's an illness that's just going around, and like a whole bunch of people that have it, okay, then that's an illness. But if you suddenly get sick out of the blue, it could be a sign of stress, and it could be a sign that um, I mean, it's weird. The way I look at it is that I have manufactured whatever the illness is. The symptoms are, it's like my body is like, okay, what this is, I know if I do this, then you're going to stay home and not try to go and push yourself anymore. And I'm like, I mean, that's kind of nuts. That's kind of like, superstitious and frou-frou and whatever. I know that, but also I've seen it. I also know, I mean, it's been documented, like actually doctor's notes documented back to like when I was single digit child, that I would get sick every single school vacation, um, because I had been so, bracing in order to get, because introverted, being in a school, my lord, um, you know, coping with people and everything else. And then when I didn't have to go to school, all of a sudden I would relax and I would catch whatever nasty bug there was. And I was usually a, every single week long school vacation, at least half the week, I was basically sick in bed. Um, because I would finally relax enough, and then I would then be susceptible and get totally sick. That's not a good pattern to have. If you can, like, recognize that whatever's gone on in your life, you're reaching a limit, if you can pay attention to those cues and use like random sickness, again, I mean, when you're really sick. I mean, if you have symptoms and you don't have a fever, you just have like one illness symptom that's like, I don't know, like massive huge headache for no reason whatsoever. It's not that you've cut caffeine out of your life or something. It's just like a huge headache. You don't get migraines. It's not a migraine. You're not having a stroke. Just think about going to work and you've got a huge headache, like literal headache, not like, oh, it's what a headache. But I mean, like all of a sudden you're like sick from a headache. That's a sign. Pay attention to that stuff. Something's got to change. Um, and it's way better if you can recognize it ahead of time, take the steps to change whatever you need to change, rather than have your whole life fall apart because you've reached the wall. And that's about, unfortunately, the only advice that I can give you, other than, yes, this happens. Unfortunately, it's normal. Give yourself a break. Hopefully it'll get better soon. And if it's not getting better, if it keeps getting worse, pay attention to it and do something to make a change. And also, don't change your life around whatever the actual problem is in order to be able to keep your energy going so that you can keep doing whatever the problematic thing is. I mean, I was actually talking to people. I don't know why. I mean, it's a sign. It's a sign for me. I keep thinking I should go running again. I should take up running again. Now, when my mother was at her worst, and my son was in high school, and I was literally every day getting a call from somebody for my son, either a doctor or a therapist or the school or somebody, literally. That's when I did my half marathon training. I could have done a marathon. I could have done whatever. I thought running was insanely boring. Not, everybody's like, oh, you get a runner's high. I did not get a runner's high. It wasn't excruciating, but it didn't feel good. It didn't make me feel good. It made me feel like I've accomplished something. I'd be like, I'm going to go for a 6-mile run and go out and do it. Not a fun thing for me. It was not fun. And I've been sitting here thinking I should go for a run. I'm like, okay, well, what am I trying to run away from? When I was doing this before, I would go for the runs. I did not take my phone with me. I would have like an hour where I was not able to be reached. They could leave a message. I would get back to them as soon as I got back, but I would have an hour to myself of literally running through the forest, not have to deal with anything. And lately I've been like, I should go for run. I'm like, I don't like running. It's insanely boring. There is no point in it, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's way more better things I could be doing with my time. Why? I mean, and that's the thing, is if you've got something that's sort of bugging you. I mean, again, it's not like it's fun at all. If it was fun to me, if it was like, oh, I love being outside into fresh air and listening to birds and getting run down by turkeys or whatever, legit. Um, if I was getting anything out of it, okay, that would be one thing. But the only thing I was getting out of it was having had it done, I could say, check off my list, I did something today. I have lots of things I can do to check off on a list. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do something that, I got, last time I tried, I got shin splints. Is that what it's called? Super painful. I mean, it was painful to just walk around. Why would I do something like that? You know, Something that's going to injure myself. As far as I'm concerned, it's making everything worse. But I was able to have an hour to myself. I'm like, you know what? I live by myself. I can have an hour to myself. I what? So that again, that's a sign that the stress levels in my life are to the point where they need to get paid attention to and adjusted. And between, well, that's actually even more recently than I started getting sick. Um, but yeah, so if you're having like physical symptoms, especially if it's affecting something that that's bothersome to your avoidant personality disorder and basically getting you out of having to do some sort of interaction, um, yeah, I'm not trying to blame the victim and say, hey, you're making yourself sick. I am saying maybe it's more than just being sick. And if it is, that's kind of normal, unfortunately, because people with avoidant personality disorder have never had permission to go easy on themselves. I mean, if a doctor says go to bed and stay there, then you'll go to bed and stay there. But if the doctor doesn't, then you've got all those things that you've been told about yourself going through your head, and it's like, no, you can't. You've got to do what you need to do. You've no right. I mean, my mother literally was like, she did not believe I should ever sleep. Literally, she did not think that I should sleep. What? So anyway, I think I've rambled enough. I have no idea if this made any sense whatsoever. Um, but yeah, it is. Yeah, you can. I believe this is not a doctor. I believe you can. Your body can make yourself sick in reaction to emotional, mental stress. And especially if it's something with avoidant personality disorder, which is already, you're protecting yourself, or you wouldn't have avoidant personality disorder. And so if you're, even though you have avoidant personality disorder and you have all those traits, if you're still so stressed, then, next level is your body's going to make yourself sick. So you got to get out of that situation. Anyway, that's what I've been going through. Oh, and by the way, seriously, like the type of thing where I'm like, absolutely, like, laid out like, oh my God, I should go see a doctor sick, and then call into work, and then literally within the hour, I'm fine. Seems some sort of, mind over body type situation to me. Anyway, but things will improve because I have actually started sticking up for myself. And even though that caused more stress and made me sick again, um, I did I did I did sort of put my foot down, and we'll see how that changes. Hopefully soon. Anyway, see you next week.